Hey guys, it's Overlord here, back again with an action figure comparison, and today we'll be taking a look at the Toy Biz Marvel Legends Series 7 Ghost Rider versus the Hasbro Marvel Legends Infinite Series Spider-Man Rhino Bath Wave Heroes for Hire Ghost Rider. We'll be taking a look at the various aspects of each of the figures, such as packaging, articulation, accessories, and scale. And then at the end we will declare a winner or a draw. Now, before I get started, I just want to give credit to Glenn Webb for coming up with this idea. At least he was the first one I seen with it. I know there are others who have done this before, but he's the one I want to mention because he's the one I found it from. So, without further ado, let's get things started with packaging. Alrighty, and starting off with Toy Biz's Ghost Rider, he is displayed in a clamshell style packaging, the clamshell of death as it's well known as, and it features the comic book in the back and the figure displayed in the front. You can see all of his accessories and him. One thing I don't like is that the figures were posed, but it wasn't like classics, DC classics, where the figures would get warped. It also features the Marvel Legends logo, Ghost Rider underneath it, and it also tells you how many points of articulation it has, and then it comes with a comic book, although in this case it was a poster book. But on the back it features a bio with some stats and other figures of the wave. But yeah, that about does it for Toy Biz. And moving on to Hasbro's Ghost Rider, as you can see, the packaging's pretty bland. It says, Build-A-Figure Series Rhino, Marvel's Rhino, and then there's Marvel logo, and then Marvel Legends Infinite Series, and then Heroes for Hire. They just put Marvel on there too much. They did. And then you can see Ghost Rider and the Rhino piece he comes with, which I believe is the left leg, if I'm not mistaken. You can see that they're displayed decently. It's like I said, I think Toy Biz has the upper hand with this one. It does have some nice side art, but again, it's on the side. It's not that big. As well as on the back, they have a little bio, emphasis on little. I think a toddler could read it. And a picture of Ghost Rider next to Misty Knight, as well as the other figures in the wave, the completed Rhino Bath. And yeah, so Toy Biz definitely takes the cake when it comes to packaging. Alrighty, so now that we have wrapped up with packaging, let's move on to articulation. Now, the Series 7 Ghost Rider, obviously being made by Toy Biz, more likely than not is going to have more posability. But is that such a good thing? Maybe. But he does have a hinge in the head. Also rotates. He's got a hinged jaw, which actually activates these little yellow eyes. There you go. See that one? Little yellow eyes. And then on the top of that, he has a rotating spine. Now, it's a bit tricky to get to, but you can rotate that around. But like I said, it is very difficult to get to, but you can rotate that around if you want. He's got an ab crunch moving this far forward, not so far back. So about one click. He's got a waist swivel. He's got a butterfly joint, just forward and back. Hinge at the shoulder, moving it that far up and then back down. Full 360 rotation, as well as a 360 in the bicep. Double jointed elbows, which only one of them you really need. The other one is kind of a bonus because you can get his arm flush up against his bicep with just one. So that is a very good range. He's got a swivel at the glove, a hinge at the hand, and at the fingers. And then for his legs, they both move out to the side and back in, forward as well as back. He's got full 360 rotation at the thigh, double jointed knee, swivel at the boot, as well as a hinge at the ankle with a rocker joint and a toe hinge. So overall, not too shabby. Although sometimes the joints want to be finicky and not move back down. Gotta be careful with this, guys. Limbs are very skinny compared to the newer one. But overall, I'd say Series 7 is a decent amount of articulation, enough to satisfy your posing needs. And now on to Hasbro. Now Hasbro's has a little bit less. It doesn't have the hinge in the fingers or the toes, but it does have a significant amount of articulation otherwise. The head is just a ball joint, but it's a very good ball joint in the fact that it allows the up and down in the head as well as the swivel side to side, and something the other figure did not have is a rocker. He also has a hinged jaw, granted not giving that popping eye effect, but the translucent plastic used to mold the head does it for you and looks very, very nice. He's got an ab crunch that moves this far forward and this far back. He has a hinge in the shoulder, move it up to the side and back down. 360 on top of that, and then down to the bicep, another full 360. Double jointed elbow. This one you kind of need both of them to get up to the bicep, but again, it's not too terrible. A little loose on the upper elbow joint, but I can live with that because he doesn't need that to stand. And then he also has a hinge in the wrist as well as a swivel. And then he has full 360 rotation at the waist. And then for the hips, he has in and out, not too far out, so no Van Dams for him. He moves forward this much and back, not too much at all, but you don't really need it to. A full 360 in the thigh, double jointed knee, touches the back of the thigh, pretty good there. And then he has a single hinge at the ankle with a rocker joint. So I'm going to say, in terms of posability, I tend to like what this figure has. And that is less, because it's less stuff to get loose, and less stuff to break off. Now, granted, the Toy Biz one is superior in terms of how much articulation it has, but it's my channel, my rules, and I tend to be the guy in the middle who likes fully posable figures, but doesn't like too much. This guy definitely suffices both of those sides. So round 2 goes to Ghost Rider from Hasbro. Now on to accessories. Now, the Series 7 Ghost Rider was released in a time where apparently plastic was cheaper and so was oil, so he came with a fully sculpted and painted motorcycle with working tires. Very well done, very well painted, very well sculpted. It even hinges in the front here, and then this part, the front piece can come off and become a shield for the figure, so you can be Captain Hell. It also has a kickstand for extra stability, but seating the figure on here is actually quite the chore. But you do get a pretty awesome display piece once you figure that out. And honestly, I've had this guy for a while, so I managed to take him off and put him back on more than once. So I've gotten kind of used to it at this point. I just want to mention that the peg holes on the figure are on the front of his feet, and you want to slot them into these little pegs on the side, which can be easier said than done due to how you necessarily pose the legs. Like the other side does not want to go in. There. Now that he is on, you can move his hands up and he can grip the handlebars as such. And there you have the Series 7 Ghost Rider ready to ride and avenge Ascent. Now we return to Hasbro, and in terms of accessories for this guy, he doesn't come with jack. I am excluding Build-A-Figure pieces, comic books, and weapons to Build-A-Figures and generic stands. Mostly because I want accessories for the actual figure. If it's a generic stand, it can be used for anybody. If it's a BAF piece, it doesn't belong to the character it's packaged with. Series 7 definitely takes the cake on accessories. Now, let's move on to scale. Moving on to scale, I'm going to be comparing both figures to the standard of what their respective lines consist of. So the Toy Biz Legends will be compared to today's modern Hasbro Legends, just because that is now the standard and most likely is what most people's collections consist of. So starting off, we have our basic body, the Bucky Cap body with Carnage, who seems to be a little bit taller, but not too much taller to the fact where it is not a good scale. Then here we have Venom, who is a bigger character regardless, so he would fit in a display with him. But now moving Venom over, we'll bring in the female standard, who may or may not want to stand. It's going to be not. Okay, there we go. Here is Felicia Hardy, the Black Cat. And as you can see, she is a little bit too tall to fit with Johnny Blaze here. So, scale-wise, this guy seems a little short. In terms of Hasbro's Ghost Rider, let's see how he stacks up next to the same figures. Here he is next to Carnage, the Bucky Cat body. He is a little taller, which I do kind of prefer that, being that he is in his biker gear, and those boots tend to make them a little bit taller. There he is next to Venom again. Venom is a bigger character, so that's okay. No problemo. And then last but not least, Miss Felicia Hardy. She can't make up her mind who to date. At least not in the animated series. And there you go. She is a little bit taller, but she is wearing heels, but she's not taller than Ghost Rider here. She is about probably nose to nose with Carnage, which is fine, and she's a grown lady, so that makes perfect sense. So this Ghost Rider definitely takes the cake when it comes to scale. And now the time has come to choose a winner. The Toy Biz Ghost Rider took it on packaging and accessories, while the Hasbro Ghost Rider took it on articulation and scale. But the thing is, I cannot pick a winner between these two figures because they tied amongst the 4 categories. Reason being, this is more likely than not the better figure, but this is still a great figure, being that it comes with a bike and is a better in-package display than this figure. So I'm going to have to call this one a draw. If you would like to watch my individual reviews of these figures, I will leave links in the description below, and you can decide for yourself which is best. So with that being said, guys, I hope you enjoyed my first action figure comparison. It's going to be one of many, and until next time, I'll catch you guys later.